Welcome to the Nursery Worker Training Day at your local church. There's nothing quite like being the starting point in a person's spiritual development, and in so many ways the nursery is just that. Because the ministry to young children and their parents is so important, we have created several dedicated training videos for you and your church nursery workers. Make sure you catch all the sessions and pass on the links to your workers and new recruits. Now let's get started.
All right, hello there. Hey, nursery workers, good to have you here. My name is Mike Holmes. I'm the founding pastor here at Sinclair Baptist Church, and I've had the privilege of traveling all across the nation in my youth evangelism days and with Baptist Youth Mission, and working with literally hundreds of nurseries in vacation Bible school settings, in local church settings, Sunday morning settings, midweek settings, everything. And I make it a point to focus on helping churches have great nurseries. You are the starting point for people. Young kids coming in, they start in the nursery, and what a better place to get to know a young mom than when you have them there at your nursery. So I am just thrilled to be able to do this. I'm going to be doing quite a few different sections of training here. This is intended for you to show it to your nursery workers at your local church. So feel free to share this. You can subscribe to this on YouTube, and we continue to do a lot of church leadership type things on the YouTube channel, but these will be posted there so you can have access to them, and people can watch them on their phone, and you'll be able to train people. I think one of the most important things that we need to do in our local churches is not just assume things, but really train things, and to have a very thorough training program is really one of my goals. We tried to do it here at our church, go through our values and all the procedures and emergency things and all that. And I want to start out by just giving you kind of what I call the 6 essentials that are for training. And in other words, they're things that if you're a leader, you need to do these, not every week, but you need to do these throughout the year. If you are a worker you need to expect these. These are things you'd want to know. And so let me just go through these quickly, and I will list these here on the screen for you so you can record these. If you would like copies of this, we will put some links there where you can get some copies of some of this. This is originally written for just kind of Sunday school teachers, but we really kind of move this into our greeting teams and AV teams and, security. Everybody needs these same 6 things, and we call them the 6 essentials. The very first one is just the idea of emergency procedures. You need to know emergency procedures. You need to train for emergency procedures. And different parts of the country, it's different. You might have tornado, hurricanes, where we live. We're close to a refinery, so we have evacuation procedures for our building if there was a large fire or something. All of those things need to be trained, and everybody needs to know what those emergency procedures happen to be. So that is something that you can kind of go through. Who's the qualified medical person in the building at the time? All of those things along that line, you need to think that through. And this would be a meeting where nursery workers, you would sit down and kind of go, let's talk about the potential emergencies and what could possibly happen. How do we get kids out of the building? If there was a fire, what do we do if there's a major medical issue and one of them's sick? How do we get, call 911? But talk about those things and work through those things. The second one is just what we call security measures, and this would have to do with your child protection training. Very important. Most of the church insurance companies have child protection policy training, and that has to do with recognizing child abuse and things like that. If kids are saying things, being able to kind of decipher kind of where to go with that. Your church probably has a child protection policy in place. If not, it should have one in place, and you can again kind of go through some of the church insurance companies have a lot of this pre-written for you, and some of that training is available. You also would have security systems for your own kids, and that would be, do you check kids in, check kids out? Who's allowed to take a kid out of the nursery? Who's allowed to bring them in? Who's allowed to be in the nursery with the children? Some of those things, they need to be discussed, and if you're a leader, please go through these things and make sure that they are working properly and that you know kind of what is going on there. The third one has to do with skills training. And skills training would overlap with the security a little bit. If you're checking people in and out on a computer, if you're doing, putting a little sticker on their back, or you're putting name tags on the kids, or you're numbering the diaper bags in certain ways so people know whose is who, those would be skills training there. As far as nursery skills, how to properly hold a child, and when do you put them down, and when do you change the children. I know many nurseries have the policy of, the kid goes home with a fresh diaper, and I think that's a great policy. Make sure that they're, clean and everything is done properly. Where people come into your nursery, who can come into the nursery, where's the stopping point there, letting people walk all over the nursery, not a safe thing. But you need to have some of those skills training things there. And again, these are meetings where you would sit down and talk this through and figure out what those skills happen to be. If you're actually teaching the children, and many times with 2 and 3 years old, the kids are able to learn little concepts. So you can have, this is how we teach, stack the little cups, Jesus loves me. Let's say I'll do it. Jesus loves me. All right, now you try it. Jesus loves me. Teaching some of those little kind of gamesy kind of things to your workers would be a great thing. This would be included in skills training. The third one has to do, or fourth one, I should say, has to do with just kind of like the calendar items that are there, like who is going to be working when, and that is, sort of the roster type of things. If you're an older class, even 3s and 4s, if they are overlapped into your nursery ministry, you might actually have a curriculum, and how far does that curriculum go? Does it start at this month and go to that month? We're going to be teaching this through the next month or so. If you have a monthly theme that you're going with, you would want to know that. You also would want to have the calendar kind of curriculum stuff figured out, like the roster, who is available to be in the nursery, are they signed up, who's going to be there, who's going to take this month or that month, however you sign things up. There's a lot of different ways to kind of handle that, but this would be the idea of signing up and making sure that you've talked about calendar type of things and who's going to be there. The number 5 one has to do with just what we call nurture and team building. And this is that your nursery workers and even some of your nursery attendants, the young mothers, there needs to be some time when you are not in the battle, so to speak. It's not a Sunday morning, but you're getting together and having some type of fellowship. Now, this can work as a team. The team could get together on Saturday and maybe do some cleaning at the nursery and then order a pizza and talk and spend time doing this. But the idea of kind of getting to know each other, and especially if you're using teenagers in your nursery ministry, which many churches have to do that. The teens kind of can sit with the babies on the floor, and some of the people will get a bit older. They can't even get on the floor or off the floor. So you want to have kind of kids there, but having nurture so that you are a team and you're not just like who signed up this week and who signed up that week, but you actually are creating some type of team stuff. And many times that can be done at a park on a Saturday, and parents who have little children can bring their kids and they can play in the park, and you kind of have a little bit of a nurture fellowship and kind of team building. And some of this type of training can actually go on during those particular events. The last one is kind of what we call the sort of the vision or the objectives, kind of like, what are we all about? What is the win here? And included with that would be kind of evaluation that needs to happen. So we have in our nursery, one of our great wins is for there to be a meaningful conversation with a young mom. And I will talk to the nursery workers afterwards and sometimes say, how many kids do you have and how to go and some of that. But I really like to hear like, oh, we had a great talk with Mrs. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so. This new young mother came, she brought her baby, and we talked for 20 minutes after church. That is a powerful win. And we want to talk about what the wins are in the church nursery. And I believe it goes way beyond just babysitting and holding the kids during the service. I think there's an element of that certainly needs to happen, so parents can go and hear the gospel and kind of have that worry-free zone where they can do that and you're taking care of their child. That is a good thing. But sharing some of those wins and sharing some of that vision, and then part of that is the evaluation, like how did it go? Especially when you have a bigger event and there's like more kids that showed up, or you're doing a vacation Bible school and you have nursery running 5 nights out of the week or whatever, there needs to be some evaluation so there can be some venting like, hey, that didn't work. This worked really well. That didn't work really good. Or like, hey, I went to another nursery, another church when I was on vacation and I saw a cool thing they did. Maybe that's something that, would work for us, and kind of sharing some of the vision and the objectives. So those are the 6 essentials, and I want to make sure that you are either training those or you are being trained on those. If you are a trainer in charge, make sure that you kind of hitting these things and plan a couple times during the year when you actually focus on some serious training for some of this. Probably once a month you need to be kind of talking about these in the nursery, maybe before or afterwards. You can have people hang around after church and have a quick nursery meeting that works very well to kind of go through especially things like roster, or if there's a new emergency procedure, if you got a new first aid kit or something and it's here, you can do that in relatively easy time. But some of these things with nurture and training and objectives take a little bit more time, so you're going to want to schedule some time for that. If you're a trainee or a person that's not in charge and you want to be trained on these things, then you need to kind of sit down and mention it to your leader there and say, hey, can we talk about a few of these things? I have a few questions. I wouldn't know what to do in an emergency. I don't know how to run the computer and, check kids in and out. I put the diaper bags in the wrong place last week. I'm so sorry, but I didn't really know. Is there a certain way we're supposed to do that? I'm kind of in the dark on that. So if you're a trainee, you're going to want to ask for that. So thanks for joining us. These videos will be in order, so there should be some more. You'll be able to click the button and go to the next one and go to the next one, go to the next one. But quite a few different things on training. Let me remind you again that you are where it starts, and you get to hold those babies that one day are going to be sitting in the auditorium, or maybe up there leading music, or maybe preaching, maybe on the mission field. And how cool is that to see this happen and for you to be the starting point for it? So from the bottom of my heart, for our nursery workers and really nursery workers abroad, wherever you are, thank you so much for what you do. And if this is helpful for you, again, give us a thumbs up button and share these things with other nursery workers. Make sure your other nursery workers subscribe to the channel, and we'll make sure that we get this out to as many people as possible. Our nursery needs to be top-notch in our churches, and you're the one that's going to make that happen. So thank you so much, and we will see you next week here at reachkeep.com.